So today we saw GDP report, and GDP is considered, gross domestic product, it's considered the broadest measure of economic health and growth generally. And I say generally because there's areas that we can look at to dive deeper, but it is the broadest measure, the cleanest measure of growth in an economy. If we look at GDP in the numbers today, we'll see that the actual number came in significantly lower than forecasted and worse than the previous quarter significantly. So we're slowing from 3.1% from the previous quarter and showing a 2.3% growth rate now. That number is a major miss. As we look at this, we can go ahead and change this and ignore the forecast and look at the revisions and notice that the revisions are generally down. They're generally revised lower. So the fact that the previous quarter revised higher is great, but if this is going to be revised lower, then we could be sub 2% by the time we see what this number actually is. So the advanced GDP is the earliest report of GDP. We have an advanced, preliminary, and final GDP when we watch the markets. This is the earliest report. It's the most reactive report, but it's also the least information. So the final and preliminary actually have more data and are more accurate, but we react and respond more to this advanced GDP in the markets than we do any other GDP report. So what we're seeing is that we are slowing down to this 2.3% rate, and we can see in 2022 there was 2 negative quarters, and obviously bad news there. And as we look through here, anytime we got through 2%, that's going to be a concern. We want to be over 2%. We're headed downwards towards 2% or lower based off this number. Now we know that the Fed knew this number already yesterday when they chose not to cut rates. So they see that the economy and the growth is slowing to near their 2% rate, and yet they still didn't feel like they should cut rates to stimulate the economy. That is an interesting thing because we're clearly seeing inflation and inflation hedging going on in the markets. So if we're seeing a slowdown growth-wise while inflation remains high, that does set us up for stagflation, non-growth with inflation. So as we look at the numbers, tomorrow we will also see PCE. Core PCE is expected to be up month over month, 0.2, but again, we know the Fed already knows this number. So their behavior yesterday has me believing that they're actually expecting this number to be equal or greater than this forecasted price because they already know what it's going to say.